Hi, welcome to my channel if you're new, welcome back if you're a subscriber. Today we're doing a tier ranking video of all 25 books I've read this year so far, so it's like a wrap up and also a ranking, and I am so excited to do a video like this. I have never done a tier video, but I've always wanted to, so here we are. It's a chill video. I've got some tea next to me, and please excuse the lighting. I have my bright kitchen light on me, but it's not amazing lighting, so ignore that. But without further ado, let's just jump into the video. All right, so my first read of the year is The Trap, and this one, unfortunately, I really didn't like, so I'm gonna move it up to didn't like. This is based on some disappearances that happened in Ireland back in the 90s, and this one just felt too much like a mystery for me. It was very slow paced. I was sort of trudging through. I didn't really like the writing style, which is unfortunate. I've read 2 other books by this author and I've only liked one of them, so this one I'm just gonna have to put in did not like. It just didn't really work for me. And this one was also the January Lights Out book club pick, so I will link the live show if you're interested in hearing all of our thoughts on this one. But yeah, this one I gave 2 stars and I just didn't like it. So the next one is The Dead of Winter, and ooh, I like this one. You can probably tell by the way I smiled. I'm gonna put it in very good. I gave it 4 stars. This is about a group of hikers and they are going into the mountains, and once they get there though, they end up getting snowed in and there's a bad storm and it turns into this whodunit mystery. I will say this one felt slightly too long. That's why it's only a 4 star versus a 4.5 star. And I wasn't obsessed with the characters, but I think it's a really fun time. And it was my first Darcy thriller book and I really enjoyed it, and I definitely will be reading more of her thrillers. This one is perfect for when I read it. I read it in January, so it was snowy where I live and it fit the atmosphere really well, and I would recommend it. So the next book is I'm Not Done With You Yet, and this one I read for the Pyramid Book Club with Lexi, Michelle, and Monica, and I'll link that live show below. And this one I'm going to put into very good. I ended up giving it 4 stars. So this one is about 2 authors and they're competing and there's some obsession going on, and they actually met when they were both in school in Oxford. And so it has that kind of dark academia atmosphere when you're getting the flashbacks to the past, and I was gripped throughout the whole thing. The synopsis actually sounds a lot like The Writing Retreat, but I ended up liking this one way, way better than The Writing Retreat, which may be an unpopular opinion. I mean, I know that one was very divisive, but I enjoyed this one, and it's a fun, I would say, dark academia thriller about obsession and competition in the writing world. The next one is The Boys in the Valley, and this one I'm going to put up to very good. I gave this 4 stars. I definitely liked the first half of it way better than the second half. The setup of this was very, very eerie and atmospheric. It's about these boys in the turn of the century who live in this orphanage, and one night this stranger shows up on the doorstep and then things start to go wrong. So it's sort of a possession paranormal read, and it has inspiration from Lord of the Flies, which I still haven't read. I know I need to. But this one was very good. It's not one where I am obsessed with it because I didn't really like how it progressed towards the end, and I enjoyed the first half way more. There's actually a scene in there that's like burned in my memory that made me so uncomfortable and claustrophobic, but I'm putting it in very good. Oh my gosh, is Strange Sally Diamond, and I'm putting this straight up to obsessed. So this one, minus the ending, because the more and more I think about the ending, the more I dislike it. This one I immediately, once I finished, had to speak to people and talk about it, and I went through so many emotions as I read this, just a roller coaster of emotions. The places this book went, like the things it made me feel, oh my gosh. This book, it was a lot. This one, I feel like I don't even need to tell you much about it. It's basically a book about a woman named Sally, and she is very unusual, and she finds herself in this very strange situation, and it just goes from there, following her life and learning more and more about her past. So Really love that one. So I gave it 5 stars. It put me on an emotional roller coaster, which I love when books do that, but it's a 5 stars minus the ending. I still gave it 5 stars though. The next book called Christmas in the Empty Cabin, and I am sticking this one in average. So this one is a short story collection and it takes place with wintry holidays. So there's like a Thanksgiving one, there's a few Christmas ones, there's a Hanukkah one, and this one was good. There were some stories that I like more than others, and that's something I run into a lot with horror short story collections, and that's why I don't always gravitate towards them, because I'll really enjoy one and then the next one is just okay. But I'm glad I read this. I would say it's average. It kept me engaged and interested, but I wouldn't put it up into very good. Okay, now we've gotten to ACOTAR, which I'm so excited. So I feel like everybody knows what ACOTAR is about. If you don't, it's about this girl. She is a huntress in this poor cabin in the woods, and she lives in a world where there are evil, cruel fae, and then there's humans, and they're separated. And one day she ends up killing this animal, and a beast creature comes in and demands retribution for what she did and takes her back to this fae castle, and it takes off from there. This is my second romantasy book. I technically read Fourth Wing last year, which got me very interested in the genre, but this one I'm definitely going to put into very good or obsessed. I don't know. See, like the start of this, I really liked it, but like we'll talk about in a minute, A Court of Mist and Fury I'm obsessed with. So maybe, I don't know, I'm gonna put it on the top of very good. I wasn't sure if I was gonna actually like organize these from favorite to least favorite within the categories, but maybe I will at the end. So yeah, I'm putting it in very good. But that takes me to A Court of Mist and Fury, which is perfection. It is my favorite book in the whole entire series. The romance in this book was so good, and this is coming from someone who hasn't read that much romance. Like now I have more with romantasy. But I did not know I would enjoy this. So I am so happy. It made me obsessed. I stayed up so late finishing the book, and I highly recommend it. Then the next one is the little novella, and I will say I ended up rating it, I think 3.5 stars, but honestly it's probably more of a 3. It's very much just like a filler. You don't really need it for the story, but I will put it in average. It was fine. There was some cute scenes, but it's not, you know, wild with the plot or anything. But the next one, A Court of Wings and Ruins, is going up to obsessed. This one is so good. It's a really close second to the second book in the series. I said it was 4.5 stars, but honestly it probably should get 5 stars because I really liked it almost just as much as A Court of Mist and Fury. So I'm putting it up there. And then the next one is A Court of Silver Flames, and I feel like this is really hard because I have mixed opinions on this book. I really love some of it, particularly the end section. Oh my gosh. Again, emotional roller coaster, but I know you either love or hate Nesta. I'm kind of, I don't want to say I hate Nesta, but I definitely connect with Feyre way more. I understand why Nesta is how she is, but I will just have to put this in very good because of, it was just, I don't know. It was harder to connect with Nesta for me. And also this one is the most smutty of all of them. And I kind of was like, it was getting very repetitive, and there is probably the least amount of plot in all the books in this one. And I really love the world and the plot in ACOTAR. So yeah, I'm gonna put this one in very good. All right, so we are out of the ACOTAR books and we are moving on to my next read, which is This Wretched Valley. And this one is about a group of climbers going out into the Kentucky wilderness, and something goes terribly wrong. They end up stuck out there, and this is sort of a survival horror book taking place in an isolated setting. And this one I am straight up putting in did not like. I gave this 1 star. It felt so repetitive, and the only reason why I finished this one is because I had a live show, and I don't like to DNF for my live shows, but oh my word, this I did not enjoy at all, and I feel really bad because I feel like this could be for someone who doesn't mind repetitive scenes and sequences. It reminded me a lot of horror movies that I don't like, where it's like so repetitive, there's dream sequences, the same thing keeps happening over and over and over. Some of the gore and imagery in this was cool, but it just did not make up for my experience reading it. So unfortunately, I'm putting that in didn't like. It honestly would be a DNF, but I'm not putting it in DNF because I had to read it. So the next one is Tastes Like Candy, and I'm putting this in very good. And this one is a slasher that takes place in a carnival. A group of seniors sneak into a carnival after hours, and they do this scavenger hunt with the other seniors, and they start getting picked off one by one. It is so much fun. I love the atmosphere. I love Cirque Berserk, and that also takes place in a carnival. And I just think it's the perfect place for a slasher to take place. I want more in this setting, and I really loved it. And I definitely would recommend it for a fast-paced slasher. And then the next one is actually a slasher again. Tastes Like Candy I gave 4 stars or 4.5 stars, and this one's Gonna Hurt I gave 3 stars. So this one I'm gonna put in average. I still feel like it was probably the best out of the averages, but this one is about a group of high schoolers who are traveling to Vegas for this music festival, and they are riding in an electric car, and then it runs out of batteries, so they have to pull off at a stop, and they need to try to charge the car, and then they get stranded. And it has really strong Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes, and it was a fun time. I just thought that inserted into this were some like emotional moments sort of towards a romance that I just did not care about, and it felt very out of place and jarring. But I liked the atmosphere. It had a very bold ending, and I think you should pick this one up if you want a desert slasher. It was a good time. The next one is The Inmate, and this is my first ever Freida McFadden and probably my last. I'm gonna put didn't like. So this one I'll put at the top of didn't like though, because I was entertained enough. I just did this one because I was sick and I needed something really fast to listen to and hold my attention, and I've been curious about this author for a while, so I decided to pick it up, but oh my gosh, it was not great. It was just a thriller. I don't remember much about it. It was very predictable, but yeah, I would not recommend this. Okay, we're at my first DNF, which is Where the Blame Lies. This one is a romance thriller, and it just did not work. It was compared a lot to the Mindfuck series, which I really, really liked. And this one was not fast-paced enough. There were some scenes that were interesting to me, but I ended up DNFing it, and I also wasn't listening to it. I was reading it on Kindle Unlimited, and I remember it taking a really long time to get through it, and I looked, and the book was really long. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. You know, the Mindfuck series, the books were short. Totally different vibe, but yeah, I just DNF'd this one. The next one is Nightwatching, and this one is very good too. I'm obsessed. Oof, I don't know. I'm putting it at the very top of very good. I gave this one 4.5 stars. This one is about a woman who experiences a home invasion, and she has 2 young kids, and she has to keep them safe and silent, and wow, this was so tense. I was on the edge of my seat. I thought it dragged a little bit towards the middle, if I'm remembering correctly, but it was a very, very good time, and some of the things in this were quite realistic feeling and very disturbing. So I would highly recommend this one if you want a fast-paced thriller. The next book is The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and this one I read because it is oftentimes recommended to people who love ACOTAR, and it's a romantasy book, and this has vampire houses and mortals in it, and the main character is going to compete in this competition, and it kind of has like Hunger Game vibes, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. There is way more fantasy world building in this than I expected, and the romance is pretty slow burn. It was very good though. I like the romance. I didn't connect to the main character a ton, but this first one I'm gonna say very good. And then the second one, The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, I'm gonna put in very good as well. This one I connected more to the characters, but a little bit less to the plot. So I don't know how to rate it. I mean, I think I gave them both 4.5 stars. But very, very good. I love the world, and it's very interesting. So I'm putting these in very good. The next one is The Pram, and this is a short story. This one is about this husband who really wants a child, I believe, and it's a creature feature. It's very short. I'm putting it on average. It was fine. It was entertaining. The ending was fun, but I wasn't obsessed with it. This next one I am obsessed with, and it is Bloom. Oh my gosh, this one is so good. It is a sapphic horror book, and I'm putting it in obsessed. It was so amazing. This one, all you need to know is about this girl. Recently, she broke up with her boyfriend, and she walks into this farmer's market and sees this woman who was stunning, and she is so infatuated with her immediately, and things go from there. The next book is Diavola. And this one is about a family going on vacation to Italy, and they arrive at this villa and weird paranormal activity starts to occur, as well as they're stuck in this setting with very close quarters with like family tension and all of that stuff. This one was weird for me because I really liked some aspects and other aspects didn't work. It had a very meta vibe, and that can either work really well for me or not work that well. And in this one, unfortunately, I'm going to put it in average because I think that's more of a me problem. I saw a lot of people really loving this, but the tone of the book didn't fully work with me. So the next book I read was Pretty Girls, and this was actually a reread. It's one of my favorite books of all time, so I'm putting it obviously in obsessed. This one is so good. It's very impactful. There's a twist in it that the first time I read it, I was shocked. It was so well done, and the characters in this book feel really, really real. This one has some really disturbing content in it. It's about this woman who, when she was a child, her oldest sister disappeared and she's never been discovered. And now in present day, there's another girl who goes missing, and it seems very similar to the circumstances around when her sister disappeared. So she starts digging into her family's past and discovers some really disturbing secrets. So I'm really glad I reread it. It was actually my first time rereading a book, believe it or not. The next book is Stranger in Her House, and this one I'm gonna put in average. The top of average though, actually, I think I ultimately like this one's gonna hurt a little more than this, but The Stranger in Her House was the Lights Out Book Club pick for April, and this one is about a woman who's the caretaker of her mother, and she moved back into her house to help her out, and one day this strange man appears and he's acting very weird, trying to help the mom around the house, like he'll paint for her, and yeah, something feels very, very off. This book, I will say, gave me anxiety when I was reading it. Like, ugh, I was so uncomfortable, especially in the first part of this book, but honestly, like throughout the whole thing, I was uncomfortable, but it just was slow in certain parts. That's why it was average for me, and I wasn't gripped the whole entire time. But if it was just, I feel like it should have just been a short story and what happened in the beginning of the book. That reveal should have kind of been at the end, if that makes sense. Like, I just think this story for me would have worked better in a much shortened setting and not gone off in the direction that it went off in, so. That one is average. And then my next DNF, which is First Lie Wins. This one, unfortunately, did not work for me. I think the style of thriller just doesn't work for me. It's like a con artist thriller, and now I know that's just a trope I don't really enjoy, but that one I DNF'd. We are approaching our last two now. So Spark of the Everflame is very, very good. I dare put it in obsessed. I don't know. It's like top of very, very good. I'm almost obsessed. I think the second book in this series will be in obsessed territory. So in this one, the main character lives in a world where it's colonized by the gods and it's ruled by the descended. And so this main character lives in a poor village. She's a healer, and her mother disappears one day and she has to figure out what happened to her mother. And you go on this adventure with her. I will say the beginning of it was a lot of kind of slow world building. You're meeting the characters, but it gets so, so good. And I am so glad I stuck with this book because about 200 pages on, I really, really loved it. And now I'm in the second book and I'm loving it a lot. And I'm predicting that I'll be obsessed with it. So this one is in very, very good. And then the last one is Finley Donovan is Killing It. This one was so much fun. I'm gonna put this one in very good. This one is about this woman who is an author, and she is one day meeting with her publicist and they're discussing a plot in one of her books, and somebody overhears and thinks they're discussing a real murder and that she's a hitman. And so she gets hired to be a hitman, and she's just in this predicament, and it's so much fun. It's very light, it's very funny. This one is an easy read to just throw on. I listened to most of it while I was going on walks and exercising, and I had a lot of fun with it. I would recommend reading this in as close to as 1 or 2 sittings as possible. I think I lost a little interest towards the end, not because of the book, but because I had taken too long between reading it. So I would recommend that. All right, so now we are going to order everything in a row, and this is really hard for me. I think I just have to say A Court of Mist and Fury is at the top of obsessed. I really do. Just because my current feelings as of now, that one is just living rent-free in my brain. So I would say that. Then, oh my gosh, this is so hard. It's like impossible to rate my obsessed ones. I will say probably Bloom. I will say that that was just a perfect time for me. It was a perfect read. Then I will say A Court of Wings and Ruin. Then I'll say Pretty Girls, and then I'll say Strange Sally Diamond. This could shift on any day, so this is just what we're saying tonight. For very good, this is kind of hard to label. Oof, this is difficult because there's so many aspects of certain books on here that I really, really love. Definitely at the top of this is Spark of the Everflame and Akatar. You can tell I'm in a romantasy kick. The Serpent and the Wings of Night we're gonna put over here. Oh my gosh, this is so difficult. Probably Nightwatching. Then, oof, this is really hard. I don't know. I'm stressed. Maybe Cotton Candy Massacre, then A Court of Silver Flames. I'm Not Done With You Yet, Dead of Winter, The Boys in the Valley, and then Finley Donovan, I guess. For average, I would say, oof, I don't know. I keep looking at Serpent and the Wings of Night though, and I'm like, should that go above Spark of the Everflame? I don't know. I'm just keeping Spark first for now. That's how I feel tonight. For average, I'm going to put probably, this one's gonna hurt us first, then Stranger in Her House, then A Court of Frost and Starlight. No, I'm putting that one above A Stranger in Her House. And then probably Diavola, the Pram, and then Christmas in the Empty Cabin. And then for didn't like, I am going to say The Inmate, then The Trap, then This Wretched Valley, and then these are my DNFs. So that was pretty easy to do there at the end. I had such a blast with this video. Let me know if you like videos like this because I would love to make more tier videos. I love to watch them and I've been wanting to do this for a while. Let me know if you've read any of these books and if any of them are your favorites, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.